Welcome to episode 199 of the 10,000 Trades Show, where we are mastering trading and creating excellence through the deliberate practice and analysis of 10,000 trades. In this episode, we will take a look at how to use pivot points in our trading. This is one of my favorite indicators to use. So let's go on to the charts and look at how we use pivot points in our trading and how to take profitable trades based on pivot points. Here we are looking at a pivot point trade setup. A pivot point trade setup basically is that we are looking for price action at pivot point levels. And I'm looking to take a trade around those levels. And I found that pivot points are really effective in terms of acting as support resistance areas. And I tend to find a lot of trades around these pivot point levels. So here, as we can see, we have a daily pivot here, and above the daily pivot, we have R1, R2 like that, and then we have S1, S2, S3. In this case, we see that price is coming down and then it closes below our daily pivot. When price closes below the daily pivot, we're looking for price to drop after that. So in this case, as we can see, price closes below the daily pivot here and then takes off from here. In this case, we will wait for price to close below the daily pivot and wait for a bit of a pullback here because this is the large candle and usually we see pullbacks with large candles. So we look for a bit of a pullback and enter the trade short. And our stop would go above the high here. We just want to make sure our trade has some room to breathe. Once we enter the trade short here, we're looking for price to drop. And as price moves lower here, we continue on with our trade and we can trail our stop behind these candles as the price moves lower. And once we see that price starts to go sideways here, so it's been dropping here the entire time and now it's starting to trade sideways, we can exit our trade either at the close of this green candle or at the close of this green candle. So in this case, from entry to exit, our profit is 198 pips. So just to recap here, a pivot point trade setup basically means that we are looking for a trade setup around the pivot point levels. In this case, we see that price comes and closes below the daily pivot. So this is a good place for us to enter the trade short. So the idea with daily pivot points is that when price closes below the daily pivot point, then we're looking for price to drop. If the price closes above the daily pivot point, I'm looking for price to go up. In this case, price closes below the daily pivot point. We wait for a bit of a pullback, enter the trade short. And our stop would go above the high here or above the R1 level of the pivot point here. And we continue on with the trade as long as price is moving lower. Once we see that price starts to go sideways here, we can exit our trade. And from entry to exit, in this case, we have 198 pips in our trade. So our profit is 198 pips or $1,980 if trading one standard lot. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. If you like this video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back with another great trade setup next time.